I'm so small. Yeah. All of these guys who work there are like huge. Right. They're like 6 feet tall and massive. And so I'm like swimming in my Tyvek suit. I have it like all rolled up over my arms and taping it with duct tape.
Yeah, what's the ultra marathon?
You guys haven't heard of an ultra? What's your top distance?
I've done a couple of 100-milers.
Oh my God.
That would take me a month.
I love seeing what they're doing for Albuquerque. They're good jobs. They're living wage jobs with like benefits and PTO and these things that some people might think are unattainable for them, and they're not. We're bringing that here.
Hello and welcome to Good Job New Mexico. I'm Stacy Johnston.
And I'm Karla Meléndez. And today we're talking with Marissa Bowman, who is a Director of Manufacturing Engineering at Blue Halo.
I feel so intimidated by engineers just because I'm like, you are on this like higher level of knowledge that I don't ever see myself aspiring to. And I'm just so fascinated with honestly how their brain works and all the things that they do. And I loved her tips of organization that we're going to implement at our house.
I know. I'm for sure. I really did write that down. I mean, mentally, because I'm definitely going to implement that. Like, that's so smart. Like, you just know exactly what you need. Put it right in your grocery shopping list.
I think about that sometimes when I'm like stocking my chips. I'm like, if I knew that we were out of the yellow bags of chips, I would know to go and get that at the store.
Yellow bags.
But I didn't know, so now everyone gets red.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you give what you get.
Picky.
What's left in there.
Exactly. Yeah, I love talking to her. And Blue Halo, you guys got a tour of the facility. And by you guys, I mean you, Stacy, and our editor, John.
So amazing. I mean, just fascinating. And it's a company that I don't think a lot of people have probably heard of. But they're doing such amazing work, especially for military defense. It just blows my mind what they're doing, and what they're doing matters to people across the country, across the world, wherever they're using those defense systems. So.
Yeah, well, and even locally, right? The amount of jobs that Blue Halo is creating, right? And just employing so many New Mexicans. I love it. I'm here for that.
Totally
1,000%.
Yeah. And it's just like you can have a different skill set that maybe you didn't think would equate. That wouldn't equate to going into a company like Blue Halo. But she mentions that they have auto mechanics that used to be working on cars, and now they're there and they're helping build these systems.
Right. Yeah. Well, and everyone needs accountants. Everyone needs, HR personnel. So, yeah, check them out. If, I'm sure we're going to have their website posted on the show notes.
Definitely. And also, I think I mentioned that they have an amazing video. If you want to just immerse yourself on what is Blue Halo, it's on YouTube. And we'll put that in our show note description as well.
Absolutely. And if you want to go for a jog with Marissa, that also.
I'll cheer you on from the side.
Well, I'll probably join her for like a 10th of her run. Maybe not even that. Probably like a 20th of her run. And then after that, I'll cheer her on. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'll drive to meet you.
Can do. What did she say? 100 miles? Oh, my God.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I can't compute. So, no idea.
So without further ado, here is Marissa Bowman.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for coming on what is today? Thursday afternoon after lunch. Hopefully you had some good lunch.
I did have good lunch, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
Before we dive into your current job with Blue Halo, and we want to learn all about that, we want to take it all the way back to the beginning. Growing up in Las Cruces, New Mexico, what was that like?
Both of my parents are from Las Cruces, New Mexico, and all 4 of my grandparents are from Cruces. All of my cousins are from Cruces. My great-grandparents had 15 kids, and all of those kids had kids, and then more kids. So for as long as I can remember, I always had cousins around me, and we were always doing things. So in Cruces, I went to Picacho Middle School and then to Mayfield High School. And sports is huge there. So we'd always go to the football games. I had a couple of cousins who would play football for like Cruces and later Centennial. Really strong roots in Cruces.
And did you do any sports in high school? I know it's so big down there. So
I did cheerleading
for
a long time.
Nice.
And so that was really good. We won state a couple of years that I was there.
That's awesome.
awesome.
Yeah. And those rivalries too between Centennial and Mayfield and Las Cruces.
Oh, Mayfield Cruces week is always a little bit crazy, but it was a really good place to grow up, a really good place to like be surrounded by family. And my parents live kind of off the North Valley. And so we had a lot of land, could go run on the levee.
Oh, man. My favorite thing down there are the pecan trees.
My parents have pecan trees.
Of course. Yeah, that's awesome. Have you ever gotten any pecans from Las Cruces, Stacy?
Maybe. I just like them already picked and then I just eat them. So there you go.
One of my first jobs was working at Stahman's Country Store on like the candy counter. And so that was a good job.
The candy counter. So did you take samples?
You couldn't take too many samples, but people would come and they'd point and they'd be like, I want that. And I'm like, I can't see from here. I need you to be more specific.
What's it say?
You're like, what's that? Yeah.
Dark chocolate, milk chocolate.
Right.
Can you see a pecan on it?
Right.
That's good to know. So if people go to candy shops, they should say specifically, I want that caramel, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're just behind the counter going, this one, and pointing to all sorts of different things. And you look at us like we're dumb.
Growing up and, you're around the pecan trees, you're, selling candy. Did you have any idea what you wanted to be when you were little? Like, did you have a path chosen for yourself?
I was going to ask something similar to that because when you think of engineer, you think of somebody that's like very curious, problem solver. They want to see how things mechanically work. Was that you as a child? Were you taking things apart like the kitchen clock and things and see how it works?
No, at the time I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I thought I might go into teaching. I have an uncle who's a teacher. He was actually the principal at Centennial for a while. And I thought I might want to do that. And then I thought maybe I'd go into business. But really as a kid, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did a lot of reading, spent a lot of time with my sister, but no real job focus.
Was there anybody in your family that's an engineer or in any type of related field?
My dad is a chemist, and my mom went back to school when we were in upper elementary school and got her accounting degree. So definitely like a math focus, but never really pushed into it.
Okay, so did you feel any pressure when you took chemistry in high school to get an A+?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, my parents were really big on education, and they pushed us for advanced classes, and they actually pushed us to be one of the first kids in the dual enrollment program at NMSU through the industrial engineering department, which is kind of how I fell into that. I met the department head, Dr. Pines. He's a legend down there, and he used to talk about my mom as Miss Padilla and kid.
Oh,
Because she'd always come with me and my sister and brother, and we'd just be right there. But he ended up taking a real interest in us and really helping us figure out what we wanted to do. And I just ended up in that department. My sister's also an industrial engineer, so he played the long game.
There you go.
What do you think? Like, was it something that he said or just him showing you around? Like, what was it, do you think, that he did that really, inspired you to take that up?
There was a simulator one day, and it had like a game on it where you're trying to move this airplane around the country and use as little fuel as possible. So you're trying to optimize routes, and then the route would change. So your goal would change, and you could change around what sequence you wanted the airplane to fly on and try to get better fuel mileage. And I was obsessed with it. I was like, this is so cool. And so for a really long time, I wanted to work for an airline or a FedEx.
Oh,
FedEx, anybody who knows me knows that FedEx is my dream job. Let me optimize your routes. Shipping is so weird.
yeah.
It's like magic.
It is magic.
That is very true.
I love next day shipping.
I do too.
Yeah, thank goodness for Prime.
How does it work? How does it work?
Right, for real. So then you find your passion for engineering. And then for your particular field, was it necessary to go beyond a bachelor's to get your master's?
It's not necessarily required. But when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, it was 2011. And so the job market still really hadn't recovered from 2008, especially a job here in New Mexico. And I knew I wanted to stay close because my family was so close. And so I was really limiting my search to Albuquerque or Tucson, but there just wasn't much. And so Dr. Pines, he was the department head, ended up reaching out to a former alumni of his who was working at Sandia National Labs and asking if she knew of any openings. And she happened to be hiring an intern, and She's like, but I really want a grad student intern, so they have to be enrolled in grad school. But I had no job and no money. So I was like, okay, I could do grad school. Like, if this is my foot in the door and this is what I have to do to stay close to my family, then, grad school it is. And so I ended up taking a year-round internship with her and going to school online before it was cool.
Oh, wow.
Before online school was a thing, yeah.
Yeah, before online school was a thing. NMSU actually has been a big pioneer on distance learning. And they did a lot of stuff for like the military and especially Kirtland Air Force Base and through Sandia Labs.
Does that set of skills that you have, does that translate to your day-to-day life? So like, are you very like routine oriented or like?
I try to be. I'm pretty nerdy and I love like optimizing things and stuff. So we have a thing at home. It's called Bowman Bonded Stores. And I'm going to trademark that one day. But basically like shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, all those things in your house that it's really annoying when you run out of and you always need it. We have a closet full and the kids know like the second to last one is marked with pink stickies. And if you pull that one, you put the pink sticky on the fridge and the pink sticky will say what it is so that I can make an Amazon order.
Now. That is really cool.
What is happening?
Okay, I am taking notes. Hold
on.
Hold on. Let me get this pen going.
Yeah. We have not had a toothpaste stock out since like, I don't know, 2012.
Oh,
like,
wow.
My husband and I have not run out of toothpaste since we first moved in together. It's been great.
That is amazing.
So you were ready for pandemic. There is no need for us to freak out and go to
we
the
have
store.
The toilet paper.
We've got it.
We were feeling pretty good about ourselves.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's really cool. But I love the process, right?
For sure.
Like, okay, that's what we need to get at the store next. Yeah. That's so cool.
My mind is blown.
Honest, Amazon. That's what we're ordering from Amazon
there you
next.
Go. Yes.
Okay, so talking about your job. So let's go back. So you're an intern. What was that whole experience like being an intern? And did you fall in love immediately? Like, yes, I'm on the right path. This is where I want to go.
Pretty much. I was working on neutron generators at Sandia Labs and like writing process documentation and doing like Lean Six Sigma events and seeing all these improvements. And they had everything labeled and organized. I was like, this is so cool. But when I graduated, there wasn't a job opening. And so I had done well in the internship and I'd made some connections. But that first mentor went and talked to another hiring manager who at the time really wanted like a mechanical engineer. And my mentor went to bat for me and was like, I know she's not a mechanical engineer, but she'll get it done. She can do this. And so I took a process engineering role. And that was great. But I wasn't there very long because my mentor got promoted to be a level 1 manager and start up her own industrial engineering group. And so as soon as that happened, I was like, please take me with you.
I'm coming too.
Did you ask?
Yeah. I said, please take me with you. I want to go back. I want to go do all the stuff we were doing before, but do it as like a grown-up now.
Yeah.
Do you think you being able to ask that, being able to be like, take me with you, do you think that was like just you, that's what your personality is like and you're going to go for it? Or was that part of like your comfort level with your mentor?
I think it's part the comfort level, especially at that time. I was only 22-ish.
Okay.
Maybe 23. Like I was young. And so you think about like the confidence you gain as you age and as you get experience. And I really didn't have that at that point.
Yeah. Again, mentors just matter so much, whenever someone's advocating for you and whenever they see that maybe talents that you might not see in yourself yet, that's so important.
Yeah, definitely. It can change your whole life.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so I was happy in that job for a few years. We did some capacity modeling, which I like to think of as like glorified fortune telling. It's like, how much can we build, how fast, and what will it take? And you use models. And we had some really fancy software and stuff like that. But it's just estimated guessing. It's like, if this and that, then how many? So I used to joke, come, let me see in my crystal ball how many of those you can make.
And how often is it accurate?
We'd get pretty close.
Yeah,
We're awesome. Pretty good. And you're always refining. So the more simulations you do and the more you test those hypotheses, better you can refine your input data set.
That's really cool. It is
Very
like
cool.
fortune telling.
It is. So I read something that you worked on something called a Z machine. I have no idea what that is. So first question is, what is that? And then my follow-up question is, can you tell us the story you told our producer, because it's just like, I want Karla to hear it.
I haven't heard it.
Okay, so after that job, capacity modeling, I was like, I want to go see more of Sandia. And so I applied for a job at the Z Machine, mainly because I didn't know what it was. I was like
what is
even
it?
if they interview me, then at least I'll know what they do out in tech area for. Because I'd been living in my tech area one bubble for like 5 years at that point.
Okay.
So I go out there, and it's this giant hole in the ground.
Oh, my God.
In this giant warehouse, it's a 10-foot diameter hole, and then it's like 20 feet deep, and it smells like transformer oil in there, and everything is so like gritty. And it's a 1/4-mile walk from the parking lot. It's just there.
And what does it do? Like, what's the purpose of a Z machine?
It's to try to get as close approximate of the sun or a nuclear blast as possible in like a confined space. So you take all of this energy in these capacitors and you compress it in time until it's like milliseconds, like even less than milliseconds, nanoseconds. And then it becomes like a huge burst of energy, and you can do like equations of state, and you can see all sorts of cool stuff. But really what Sandia wants it for is because underground nuclear testing is illegal. There are all sorts of treaties. You cannot violate the treaties. And so how do you get test data? How do you know that your nuclear weapons are not degrading? Well, you test samples. And so you put them on this
It's a
little
bit of a loophole.
Yeah. Well, it's contained.
Right, yeah.
You put them in this double containment wall, and you have like a tiny little sample, and it's on a pedestal, and you hook it up to detonators, and you charge up all these capacitors, and then it just goes boom.
Oh, my gosh.
And when Z shoots, you can feel it. Like the ground shakes, and like the buildings next door, like you'll hear the windows rattle. And even some of those houses that are close to base, they feel it.
Oh,
They're
my
like,
God.
oh, that Z machine?
Yeah.
Oh, it's going off again.
Well, I wonder if they do know. They will know.
They do
That's what
know.
it is.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Z Machine was really cool because as a shot director, you get to be kind of in charge of all the logistics that bring a shot together. So making sure all of the diagnosticians know where they're supposed to be, all of your maintenance people are doing what they need to do. It's a beryllium contamination area, and beryllium is a known carcinogen. It's a huge job hazard. So Tyvek suits, respirators while they're in there. Like, you have to pay attention to how long people have been in there. Have you done your rad swipes? Like, it's just cool.
Yeah. Do you have to wear all of the...
Sometimes
Safety
if I
equipment,
was
okay.
going in,
Okay.
but most of the time, no.
Okay. And is it fitted to you?
No.
No, okay.
No.
You're
And
just
I'm-
swimming in your...
I'm so small.
Yeah.
And like all of these guys who work there are like huge.
Right.
They're like 6 feet tall and massive. And so I'm like swimming in my Tyvek suit. I have it like all rolled up over my arms and taping it with duct tape and like pulling it up so that the booties aren't like pooling on my feet.
Right. That's funny.
So I was shot directing one day, and you have to get there early. I'm getting there. It's about 5 a.m. It's still dark out. The moon is out. And I'm like half asleep. And so I'm walking in, and I see like, it looks like a puddle. And like the moon is reflecting off of that. And I'm like, so nice. Like, look at the moon reflecting in the puddle. Like, where do we get a puddle from? Did it rain last night? And I'm like thinking about this. I'm like, I don't think it rained. Why aren't there any more puddles? I start to get closer, and I'm like, oh no, it smells like transformer oil.
Uh-oh.
Like this dirty burnt oil smell. And I'm like, no. Oh no. Like that whole meme where it's like, oh no. Oh, no. And I look over, and we have these huge 50,000 gallon tanks on the outside. And they're equipped with interlocks. They're not supposed to overfill. But sure enough, it's just overfilling. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, gonna be that kind of day.
Oh, no.
And so I had to call in the fire chief that works on Sandia and Kirtland. So call them in, call in all the managers, call the director, be like, hey, so overnight, I'm not sure what happened, but I'm standing here and I'm watching oil pour out of this tank. So, like, you should come in.
Oh, my God.
What do you do?
Well, I didn't know where it was.
Yeah,
I'm sure
right.
there is. But I'm looking at this like, oh, no, I'm out of my depth. I don't.
Yeah, like this is
I need to
someone
call
else.
people who get paid way more than me. But it's still spilling out. They eventually come and they figure out the software interlock failed and the physical interlock failed,
Oh, wow.
which is crazy.
Right.
But the oil coming out, it flooded like the tunnels. Z is built up on tunnels. and everything was slick.
Oh, no.
We spent forever squeegeeing. And, like, they had to get a pump, like a sump pump out to, like, pump it off of the concrete pad. And
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Yikes,
it
what a
was-
mess.
So, yeah, that sounds messy.
Yeah.
You know, and here I complain about the printer not working. So that's, that is a way
What,
more.
we're out of paper?
Yeah. That is way more critical than.
For sure. Is that something that has happened frequent, like these weird one-off mishaps? Or is this like the biggest one that's happened in your career?
that's probably the biggest one-off mishap. Oh, one time we broke a barrier in between the water and the oil, which isn't super uncommon. But what was uncommon is we didn't see it for a while. And then when we had to drain out the water tank, there was oil on the bottom, and because the water drains out first because the oil's on the top. And so once the water went out, the oil was on the bottom, and we had to squeegee that. And I think I squeegeed that. I was like 8 months pregnant with my daughter.
Oh, my
I've got a
gosh.
picture somewhere. Like it was,
I feel like squeegeeing.
it was insane.
No one was like, maybe she shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
Can anybody else step in and help? Oh, gosh.
I'm sure, like, nobody was really pushing me to, but the whole team was down there squeegeeing. I was like, I could still squeegee.
Oh, that's very nice of you.
That's very nice.
So after the Z machine, and was it after that incident that you're like, I think I'm ready to move on?
That was it. That was the
No, I held on to Z Machine for a long time. I held on until there was the right opportunity. I was happy there. But then Sandia had these big projects where they need all hands on deck for something. And so my friend got called into one, and it was called Plan C because plans A and B had fallen through. And so they were trying to figure out how they could manufacture these small little thermopiles inside Sandia. And because of all the time they'd spent on plans A and B, they were way behind on schedule. So this huge federal program that is basically leaking money from schedule issues. And they're like, we need to make this, and we need to make it now, and we need to make it here at Sandia, which is not the cheapest way to make anything.
Right.
It's a really expensive way to
A
make
lot of
anything.
resources, yeah.
But because of that, they had to go fast. And so a friend was looking for a team lead for that, put together a manufacturing team, renovate the space, figure out how to do it. I was like, I want to do that. And so I went and I interviewed, and I was so happy because it was people from neutron generators. There was some crossover from my old life. I was like, this is fun. I'm back in the nuclear weapons complex. I'm back like doing this kind of work. And we worked really, really hard for like 9 months getting everything set up. And eventually we were able to produce the units there and keep mostly to schedule.
Okay.
Schedule is a loose term
Right.
at that point. But it was a lot of fun. And that was the job I was in when COVID hit. So you talk about like people in a manufacturing environment in close spaces with labs, and you're trying to figure out how to keep them safe and how to keep production running. And nobody knows like how long, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Okay, now it's 4 weeks, 6 weeks. Oh, this is just going to last a while.
Yeah.
And so trying to figure out how to rotate my staff in and out. My husband was a team lead on another floor at Sandia at that time, so he was having to go in. I had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old who no longer have daycare. And so we're trying to trade off who's going in early at work and who's going to go in later and stay later. And that means one person is home with the 3-year-old and the 1-year-old. And it got to be too much. He loved his job. My husband loved his job. I liked my job, but I didn't love it the way he did. And so I started asking around, like, does anybody know of any roles that are open for somebody like me that I could do remotely? Because I can't do COVID and be on site managing my team and also at home managing my kid. Like, it's too much. I can't do it. One of the girls I shared an office with when I was capacity modeling and like fortune telling had a friend who happened to be hiring in the office of the chief engineer. She's like, I may know somebody. And I got that job. The office of chief engineer is in charge of Sandia's relationship with the field office, which is kind of like a governing body. It was eye-opening. Like, you would see so many things and you would never figure out that they were connected unless you were right there in the middle of things. And so it was the coolest job ever.
Even though you were drinking from a fire hose.
Even though I was drinking from a fire hose, my boss at the time was phenomenal. Like she was so good. And it was really, really cool. You learn a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Did you experience any type of burnout because it was drinking from that fire hose and it was so much all at once?
No, I love those kind of situations where like you get to learn so much and just you get to go fast. I like to go fast. And it was incredible. It was such a good job.
That's really awesome. You know, like when you really like a job like that and you're just learning as much as possible and you get to like meet all these people who are teaching you all these things. I love that kind of.
For sure. Just being happy where you're going because you're spending a lot of your time there. So why not be happy while you're there?
Exactly.
But all good things come to an end.
Oh, why? You really took us down.
I know. There's seasons of change, though. It happens to everybody.
Yes. Change
Okay,
is
so
inevitable.
then we do a big pivot. And now you're over at Blue Halo.
Yeah. So seasons of change. The manager I really loved working for left. The job responsibilities of my role kind of changed in a way I wasn't super happy with. And so I was like, okay, it's probably time for me to find something new. And so I took an interview with Blue Halo and I met the team and I didn't expect to love it. But I loved it. I loved it so much.
And had you heard of Blue Halo prior to like applying there? Or
I hadn't heard of them at all. I did all of my research on them in a Google search the night before and like took some notes. I was
love
like,
that.
why are they making all of these health wearables? That's weird. But like, look at all these things. Oh, you make laser weapons. You do RF stuff and health wearables. Okay. Like just kind of looking. I was fortunate enough to meet with two teams, one team that was doing the RF stuff and one team that was doing the directed energy or the laser weapons stuff, and really talking to them about what their vision was for manufacturing and how they wanted to grow it. The passion in both groups was there, but the chief engineer for the directed energy, he stayed late and he walked around with me and I asked every question, anything at all. And he was showing me all these things that he wanted done and all the problems that he was having trying to keep track of stuff in his head. And I'm like, okay, at the end of this, I was really clear with him. I was all, the job you have described is huge. The job that was on the application is like half of that. What you have this listed for, as far as what you're looking for as experience, you won't get people who can do all of that for what you're offering. And he's like, well, why did you take the interview? And I'm like, I didn't know you were expecting all of this. And I can do this, but it's a much bigger job. And I'm going to need a team. And it's probably going to take longer than you want. And it's going to be a little bit painful. And so I went home and I talked with my husband. And it was really hard to leave the labs. There's good work-life balance. There are a lot of pluses to being at the labs. And there's a lot of security. Even any employer that you've been with for over a decade, you're like, I'm secure here. I'm good here. I know how everything works here. But I really wanted to go and take that leap. I really wanted to go and do it. And my husband was fully supportive. And I was like, okay, it's going to be some later nights. It's going to be a lot of work. I don't regret it at all. But this is a place where it's like my place.
It's your home. That's
it
where you
is.
feel at
It's
home.
my home.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I like how bold you were in the interview too, because I think sometimes people are afraid to like say too much or maybe like put themselves out there in an interview. But you were just straightforward and honest, and he was probably like, this is who we need. We need someone that's going to tell me to my face that, yeah, this is a lot of work. Yeah. And we do need a whole team around it. And did you get that whole team right away? Or was it like a slow process, but it eventually got there?
Within the first 6 months, I had a full team.
Oh, that's good.
That's fast.
Yeah.
It was like government standards.
Yeah.
That's fast.
It's really fast.
It was pretty fast. I was super fortunate that they gave me a lot of trust in picking who I wanted for my team and who I thought the team needed. And so I ended up with a really well-rounded team. I had some guys who'd been working automotive, machine shop type jobs, a lady from Lannel who'd been doing planning stuff there, a couple engineers. One was at Cummins. Like, just like this eclectic mix.
Yeah.
But a lot of people who were just hungry, who just wanted to do something.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's so cool. And John, our podcast editor, everything.
Hi, John.
So he went with me. We went out and took a tour there, and it was so fascinating. And I loved seeing the different variations of people who work there too, because who knew that you could be a car mechanic, but that you can go and do something like this in engineering at Blue Halo. It's crazy. I didn't know that the skill sets transferred, but that's so fun.
Yeah, especially like directed energy in particular. It's so mechanically inclined, all of the alignments, and then doing any of your test setup for directed energy is a labor-intensive job. I told all the guys who interviewed, I was like, this is not an office job. This is not something where you sit at a desk all day. If you need to work with your hands and you need to be up and moving around and that sounds good to you, this is great. If you are worried about that, this is probably not right.
Did you weed a lot of people out that way?
A few, but for the most part, they were pretty excited. Like the car mechanics were in particular pretty excited.
A lot more hands-on, I imagine.
Well, because it's hands-on and it's a job with benefits and a living wage and career growth.
Right, yeah.
What are the benefits for working for Blue Halo?
The people. Definitely. I've met some really, really smart people. I've met people from all walks of life, all sorts of different careers. The mission space is so cool. Like there's so much I get to nerd out over like manufacturing facilities and process improvements and talking to people and mentoring people. And I love seeing what they're doing for Albuquerque and like creating those jobs and hiring people because they're good jobs. They're living wage jobs with like benefits and PTO and these things that some people might think are unattainable for them, and they're not. We're bringing that here, and we're trying to expand it, and you're doing something worthwhile. And it's also a lot of fun. It's been a privilege to be there and to be able to have such impactful change. And because we are a smaller company, every person has impact, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like as an employee, right, like that's something that you value. You want to make an impact wherever you're working in whatever way, that might be. It's like that's something that matters to people.
Well, and for me, I always try to think of it as I am working a job that takes me away from my kids for 9 hours a day. If I'm going to be away from my kids for 9 hours a day, I want to do something that is worth it.
Well, and speaking of which, like how do you maintain that work-life balance, right? You have your kiddos at home, and I know your husband's also very busy and does really fancy stuff. But how do you guys maintain that balance?
We do a lot of sheet pan meals.
Oh, yeah.
We throw everything on a sheet pan and then pop it in the oven.
That's nice.
We do a lot of crock pot meals. We eat a lot of beans because you can cook them in a crock pot while you're at work. I don't know. Every time I try to put it into words, I'm like, I don't know how that happens. Like, but somehow or another, people get fed and bathed and they go to school. And
and everyone's happy.
I know, but something that you said to our producer, which I loved, was it's not just a work-life balance, it's a harmony.
Right.
And I don't think I've ever heard that before, but I think it's so special to look at it that way.
And our CEO is really the one who told me about like work-life harmony. So he's a single dad. He's got kids and responsibilities. And obviously he's running like our major company and trying to like respond to all of us minions trying to do work.
Now I'm just picturing you all like little yellow.
Sometimes it feels like it. It's very much you take care of what you need to take care of for work. But sometimes that means like my daughter goes to gymnastics. Sometimes it means I'm working on my laptop in the gymnastics lobby while she's like doing her class. Or sometimes it means I'll log on after the kids go to sleep and check on a few things. And I'm really fortunate with Blue Halo that they give us that flexibility to figure out how to make work with your life. I've got a treadmill under my desk. I run ultra marathons, and so I need to get miles in. And so I just walk and talk on the phone if I have meetings. Or like, there's a lot of flexibility.
John wants to ask a question.
What is an ultra marathon?
What's an ultra marathon?
You guys haven't heard of an ultra?
I've only heard of half. That's all I can like mentally handle.
So there's a half, there's a full, and then there's the ultras.
Ultras are technically anything over 26.2, so over your typical marathon distance. But once you really get into it, there's a 50K, which is 31 miles, or you can do a 50 miler or a 100 miler or 100K. Like, they even have 300 milers.
What's your top distance?
I've done a couple of 100 milers.
Oh my God.
That would take me a month.
I think my best time for that was like 28 hours. I'm not
God.
fast, but
you just don't sleep.
you just keep moving.
Oh my. Okay. Yep.
Caffeine's your friend, I guess.
Yeah. So I'm not going to talk about the 5K I'm about to do because no, that's
You got this, Karla. You got this.
Oh, a 5K is a gateway drug.
No.
What's next for you in your career?
Oh, I don't know. I don't plan too far ahead. I like to pay attention to what is serving my life. Right now, this job serves my life really well. I am able to do all of the mom things I want to do with my kids. I can do the races that kind of feed my soul. And I get to work at a really fun company doing really important work. And so for right now, this is good.
So rapid, not so rapid.
Okay. I'm in.
Oh, wait. Work from home or in the office?
Both. I usually take Wednesdays as my work from home day just because if I'm in the office, I like see people and I walk around and sometimes I can get distracted.
Yeah. What's your go-to lunch?
I don't have one. It's whatever is left over from the night before or an oatmeal cup.
Oh, there you go.
What's your biggest fear or phobia?
Heights. I don't like heights. I don't like the roller coaster feeling of like your stomach dropping.
Yeah.
I'm not into it.
And could you describe your current job using only emojis?
The thinking emoji, like the head scratchy, confused one. Tennis shoe. I'm always running around. And I don't know, like the dancing girls,
With
like
the-
the really happy ones with the red dress. Like, I'm just happy.
I love that.
Love it.
And red or green?
Green.
Green.
Always green.
On everything?
On everything.
Yeah. Nice.
Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing your journey with us and your job. And if you want to learn more about Blue Halo, we'll put it in our show description. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
This has been a New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions production.
Our producer is Mila Koleski.
This episode was engineered and mixed by John Sloan.
Theme music is One Fine Day, courtesy of Podcast.co.
Follow the show on social media at GoodJobNM.
For program funding, visit dws.state.nm.us/funding.
Bye.
Bye-bye.